looking for your sister. But everything is pointing to you.
Am I talking to my wife right now or to the sheriff?
You stand for everything. Family, faith, and strong American values. Let's go!
We're not perfect, but we're trying to do what's right no matter what it takes.
No matter how hard you fight.
I don't need help raising my daughter.
Whether you make 8 or not, the bull always chucks you. Always.
I am a bull.
Jake, Jeff in Las Vegas, how are you doing?
How are you? I like your backdrop. Big fan.
Thanks. I had to do it right for you, buddy, for your first film. Congratulations, man. What an incredible cowboy film. It's got heart, it's got action, it's got just everything. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. You jumped right into it. I appreciate you.
Oh, well, I am a Western fanatic. I've watched Gunsmoke every day, Tales of Wells Fargo, Rifleman, Laramie. We'll just go down the line. I love Westerns. And so I was very excited to see your film. And it just keeps right in with the genre, the best of everything it has to offer. So I loved it.
Man, thank you. I appreciate that, especially coming from from a Western buff, like there's some, it's a historical genre with a lot of legacy to it. So
well, you tell it with honesty and truth, and that's what I was looking for. So that's what it came shining through.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Now, you're a first-time director, so what story did you have to tell and its connection to ranching and riding to begin with?
What story did I have to tell?
Yeah, there was a story inside you with Ride, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is, I've been saying it's a script that I've been working on for 8 years, but it's a story that's been living in my heart my whole life. I'm from Texas. I grew up playing football, so like Friday Night Lights was my favorite movie growing up. And that was kind of the first time I saw a movie that kind of spoke to me, and I got to see my life reflected on screen. And so that was kind of the first time kind of movies in my world came together. But then I said, man, where is the Friday Night Lights of rodeo? It's this amazing world. It's an awesome sport, but the beautiful thing about rodeo is that it's more than a sport. It is a way of life. And I just felt like the way of life particularly wasn't really one presented on screen very much.
Yeah, because there's a rodeo riding community that I didn't know anything about, and this puts it front and center.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in these small town communities where you're at a critical junction point in America right now. The small town is fading. And so I felt it was sadly a very perfect time to tell the story. And in particular, rodeo, it's a very legacy driven sport. So like our film is very reflective of rodeo communities in that our movie is about 3 generations of cowboys that all come from one family, 3 generations of bull riders in particular. And so I felt like that was a very unique and honest way in.
Special connection, is it Stevenville? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Stevenville.
Stevenville. How important was it to shoot the movie there? I hear it's called the cowboy capital of the world.
Yes, I think
Fitting
my favorite thing about Stevenville being the cowboy capital of the world is that it's the self-designated cowboy capital of the world. And that's just like such a Texas thing to do, is just like call themselves the cowboy capital. But yeah, I mean, Stevenville is smack dab in the middle of Texas. So it's the most geographically desirable place for all the rodeo stars to live in so they can get to all their rodeos cheaply. So it's basically just all goes back to gas money at the end of the day. And it's kind of become a thing where kind of the best bull riders either are from there or live there. I think JB Mooney lives there now. Ty Murray, I think, is from there. And, it's a place very reflective of rodeo as a whole. When I drove into Stevenville for the first time ever, the welcome sign was bent over. It literally, even the welcome sign looked like a bull rider trying to hang on to a bull. Right when I drove through that, I was like, wow, this is our town.
And how much writing did you do in the film? I mean, I thought you were going for, authenticity in this movie, but did you put yourself in harm's way at all in this movie?
Yes and no. I definitely did more than the average actor for sure. I mean, I spent a lot of time preparing as a bull rider on the acting side. I did kind of those early training scenes in the movie are all me. And then when we got to the big rodeo, I let the professionals do what they do best. I did a lot of stuff in the shoots, but once that chute opens, you got to let the pros be pros.
I was going to say the
Uh,
insurance company had something to say too, right? This is a
yeah,
business. Can't have you get hurt.
yeah, for sure. And that is a balance that you have to find as an actor is you want to do your own stunts. You want to, I don't know if it's ego or toughness or bravado or whatever, but it comes to a point where you're being selfish if you do all your own stunts, and it comes to a point where you're putting the whole movie and everybody else at jeopardy for your own, to thump your own chest,
Well,
and
you're a first-time filmmaker, Jake, so you're a triple threat also. Acting, writing, directing. Was it a challenge to take on so much your first time out?
you know, I, this will probably sound cocky, but in a beautiful way, especially on an indie, me being able to do three things kind of just made the movie simpler. There was less chain of command, less cooks in the kitchen. It also, I could do multiple things at once. When I was in Lockhart training with Bulls as an actor, I also found myself there as a writer talking with Cowboys. And then that night I'd be writing stuff in my little trailer, that I wanted to put in the script. Or when we would ride bulls, I'd be like, oh wow, they really do it this way. Okay, I'm gonna shoot it that way at the rodeo. So I'm there as a director as well. And it kind of just all became one thing. I really didn't see myself as a triple threat or a multi hyphenate. I was just a guy trying to make a good movie, and I had a wonderful team around me. And the best thing I ever did to make my life easier was just casting and hiring great HODs and great crew. So
I mean, Forey J. Smith, C. Thomas Howell. I mean, you're talking some legends here.
yeah, and I mean, I think the beautiful thing about both those guys is they're amazing actors and they're real life cowboys. Uh,
Yes.
the photos at the beginning of the movie of kind of you see kind of a rodeo life throughout history, and those are just pictures from those guys' real childhood. Those aren't stock photos, they're not props. Those are real life family rodeo albums from those guys' lives. And they just brought so much of that on screen, so much authenticity that just can't be acted.
Well, family's front and center in this movie too. You worked with your brother on this, right? And your dad's a
Yeah.
producer.
Yes, yeah, they totally supported me. I think once they figured out how many roles I was taking on, they were like, "Can we be there?" uh, but they were great. They were so awesome at helping me when I needed help. And honestly, sometimes the best thing a producer can do is be quiet. And I know that sounds harsh, but honestly, that's the best producers in the world are guys that when there's a fire, they're the first ones with the extinguisher and they're yelling out commands and taking leadership. And then the very next day, when the ship is sailing smooth, they're dead silent because they don't need to do anything, and that's okay. And those are the best producers, and that's what I had.
And I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. So for the last 10, 20 years, we have the National Founders Rodeo here. We have the PBR here too, so Vegas and rodeos, I mean, we go hand in hand now.
Yeah, man. And rodeo is evolving so much, especially at the PBR level with the teams and everything. I mean, I think it's exploding.
And for a first-time filmmaker, I love asking this question. What was the first shot you did on the movie, and what was the last shot you did on the movie?
Wow, that's a great question. The first shot was actually a dream scene in the youngest girl in the family has cancer, and the father and the whole family is trying to get her moved to a better hospital, and the dad is kind of having these reoccurring nightmares about the time running out in his life and in his daughter's life. And so the first shot that we did in the movie was one of the dream sequences of him asleep and his wife coming into the room to wake him up to tell him that he needs to pick out an outfit for her funeral, and he wakes up.
And the last
And then the last shot was a flashback of my character's kind of, I don't want to give it away, but his traumatic past. He has an incident from his past that sent him to prison. And so we have one flashback in the scene that shows what happened in that moment of tragedy. And we shot that at the very end because I had to shave my mustache. So that was the last thing that we shot.
And was the bull riding community behind you in making this film? Because you had to do a lot of shooting at events, and were people worried about what you were making?
That was probably my favorite part about this film was not only were we making a movie about cowboys, but we were making it with cowboys. Like you said, we shot at live rodeos, working ranches. We shot at a honky tonk in Jackson, Tennessee that actually has bull riding in the back of the bar. And all these places were live. They were all open. And that's why it was so important to have Forey J. Smith and C. Thomas Howell in those roles, because there wasn't a lot of rehearsal. There wasn't like getting a feel for the location. We just went in and did it, kind of like docu style almost. And yeah, I mean, the Lone Star Rodeo, which is where we shot all the rodeos, I mean, they took us in, allowed us to shoot amongst them. Some of their people ended up becoming kind of characters in the movie. I mean, they just could not have been more supportive, and truly became like family.
Well, your movie's at the right time because there's such a resurgence in Westerns right now, specifically with Yellowstone, the biggest show on television, 2 spinoffs with more to come. So it's all about timing. So I think America's ready to reacquaint themselves with the Western, especially bull riding, because we haven't seen that before.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's this, I mean, it's the oldest sport in America, and yet it's barely televised, you know what I mean? Or barely fictionalized. So I hope more stories can come from it. And, you know, I know that this movie isn't possible without Yellowstone. So I tip my hat to Taylor Sheridan and the whole Yellowstone team, because, you know, without those kind of guys, without Kevin Costner telling Western stories and paving the way, there's no Jake Allyn, there's no ride. It's just that simple.
Well, Jake, you're leading me into my next interview. As soon as I'm done with you in about 15 minutes, I'm speaking to Kevin Costner for Horizon for an American Saga. So,
Oh, wow.
You're a great to get me going.
Well, please tell him that you talked to a first-time filmmaker who first off, my name is Jake because I was named after Kevin Costner's character in Silverado.
Okay.
Like
Really?
He's my idol, man. He's everything. And please tell him, I mean, you guys got a lot to talk about, but please tell him that this movie's not possible without him telling these Western stories, truly.
I will absolutely do that. And Jake, keep making films, man. You got a great vision. You got a great voice. And let's talk again soon, man. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate your support.
All right. Good luck, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, brother.